And then one last thing on Rollins, like I said, facing Braun Breaker, made official for Tuesday's NXT World Heavyweight Championship, Gold Rush Show, Part 1. Listen, I'm looking forward to the match. My big criticism here, and I've said this before, I don't like the fact it's happening on NXT. I get it. They want to make the show an attraction. They want to have people watch the show, people like you and other people that don't watch the show consistently. I understand. My problem is that, and again, maybe I'm fucking nuts here. Maybe I'm crazy, because I had a lot of responses on Twitter. People agree, people don't agree, and that's fine. I just want a discussion here. I just don't think it paints the WWE or the World Heavyweight title in the best light, because you would never see Roman Reigns working Tuesdays. People painted that as, well, Roman Reigns should be working more. And again, I agree he should be on the show more, but I don't think he should be on NXT. I feel like the world title reign that he's had is above whatever the fuck they've done with the Yellow brand in the last 2 years. Rollins, to me, if he's going to be taken seriously, and he is a top guy, obviously, if they want to paint the perception that the World Championship is a top-tier prize, it shouldn't, to me, be treated like an open challenge weekly defended title on Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm not saying only defended on pay-per-views, but like to go to NXT when you could just have Braun come to Raw to do the match from a storyline standpoint, to me makes little sense. But where do you fall on this discussion?
I mean, I know for a fact Roman would never work Tuesdays, nor should he. I guess, like, I don't overly hate the idea, because I feel like the way that they, like, built the championship, or, like, described, like, oh, he'll challenge anyone at any time, doesn't matter. Like, it's kind of seemed like, it's not at the same level as Roman, it literally won't until Roman loses it. But, like, I don't know, I feel like they, like, made it seem like more like, oh, this is, like, the workhorse champion, like, he'll defend anytime. Like, basically, that's, like you said, I don't think, like, putting an open challenge every week does a lot of prestige. Like, technically, no one has to really qualify for this thing. It's just
exactly.
Like,
that's part of the problem, too, yeah.
But, like, I feel like that's the way that they, like, built the title as, like, a workhorse title. Like, oh, he unlike Roman, like, he'll defend it every week. Or, like, no challenge, like, doesn't matter the challenger. So, I mean, I don't love that idea, but, like, if you're looking for the perception of it being equal to the WWE Championship, it's just, I mean, it won't be like that. I don't think it'll be even close to that until Roman loses the belt.
Yeah, listen, here's my thing. I'm not complaining or have an issue with him defending the belt on Raw. Every week, I don't know about that. But, like, you know, I understand the whole workhorse thing. And just because Roman doesn't defend on TV at all doesn't mean Rollins shouldn't. Like, I'm not saying... Like, I actually like the fact that Rollins is a different champion than Roman, and that you have, like, the big boss character, the big bad, whatever you want to call him with Roman, the final boss vibe. What'd you say?
Big dog.
Yeah, exactly. Big dog vibe with Roman on Fridays. And then on Rollins on Raw, you have, you know, he can defend it every week. He's a workhorse champion. Feels more IC title to me, but again, it's not that big of a deal. It's funny how Gunther is more, like, I mean, he defends it on TV sometimes, but he's more final boss than Rollins is. That's fine. My only thing here, the only reason I'm really complaining about this is that he's going to Tuesdays. And my issue with this is, I know, like, listen, Corbin went to NXT. Okay. I like Corbin, but, like, we're getting to the bottom of the barrel when we bring back, like, fucking Dana Brooke to NXT and stuff like that, but that's a different discussion. I'm just saying, NXT, if this was NXT 2 or 3 years ago, I would be fine with it, honestly, probably. I would get it, because NXT is a third brand. It's not a fucking third brand. I don't know if we really brought this up last week. We mentioned the Corbin thing, him going back to NXT. You didn't love it, you don't care, I get it. Most people don't. But it's not a third brand, dude. It's developmental. And I don't think... To kind of just shut this down right now, I don't think, personally, it will ever be back to what it was. What Triple H built up also had its cons, because he built up a lot of indie guys. They did create stars of their own, not as many as they should have, which is the problem. I can't even say they're really doing a lot of that now. I mean, Braun Breaker's their own guy, even though he's a second-generation talent. I mean, Tiffany's their own star. You know, Creed Brothers, they do have their own talent being built up. A lot of what I see in NXT is good wrestling, but a lot of it is NXT UK people, or people like Wesley that were already there. Like, when we went to Battleground, how many fresh faces did they really have on that show? Let's be honest here. Carmelo Hayes came from the indie scene, and everyone else came from NXT UK, aside from Tiffany and Braun Breaker. I loved the show. I thought we had a great time, but I'm just thinking... We got to be serious here. It doesn't feel like a third brand. They ruined that perception a couple of years ago. And I don't think Rollins working Tuesdays like fucking shirtless Baron Corbin is going to change that perception at all. Would you agree with that, or do you disagree?
So, I don't think it'll change the perception, but I also think, like, I think the one thing that, like, saves it for me, he's facing Breaker. I mean, Breaker is literally, like, the guy. He is, like, the next guy. He's, like, main event guy. Like, I think... him facing anyone else, I'd be like, okay. But Breaker's like basically should be on the main roster basically at this point. But like he is seen as a future guy. It's not like he's facing, I don't know, insert guy that will never be anything. I don't know, fucking Von Wagner or something. I don't know.
Yep.
But like, I think him facing Breaker, like I don't mind it because I think that's like a marquee match. Like that could be on Raw and it'd be like a really good match. I don't hate that. As like I think like yeah, it's never gonna be what it was before. But like I don't think NXT really was like. The whole thing wasn't ever supposed to get to that anyways. It just, I think what happened with like the independent boom really like turned NXT into basically like a WWE run indie promotion basically when they brought in all those indie guys.
Yep.
It was also when the indie boom was huge. Like I don't think that was ever their like vision to become that because like I said they did make some stars but like most of them were just people that were in the independents for so long that finally like got a break. So I mean, and like you said, I think they do have a lot of good talent. Like, yeah, they have a lot of NXT UK people, but, like, I mean, a lot of them did go, like, they've been in the system for a while. So, like, yeah, they have had indie work, but, I mean, they've been in the WWE system probably longer than that. Like, same with Hayes, like, yeah, he worked small independents, but I bet you he's been in NXT longer than he did that. So,
yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit of both. Like, some guys, like, yeah, they started NXT UK, or, like, they work, but, like, they also, like, were, like, trained there and all that stuff. So, I think it is, some people did work some independent, but they've worked a lot longer in NXT, so I feel like you kind of got to give them some credit. I mean, Hayes obviously wasn't what he was when he came to what he has become now, so there is a little bit of work there, but I think it's always meant to be a developmental. Obviously, that little black and gold when they had, like, all the indie guys definitely changed that, and I feel like we never really got any, like, new star. Well, maybe some of the women, but most of the men were, like you said, established indie guys that were, like, in Ring of Honor for, like, fucking 10 years and finally got their cut, but I don't think it ever meant to be like that, but which is how the indie scene like was booming at that time. It just kind of turned into it.
Do you think people are spoiled by what NXT was? And not, I mean, us included. Do you think we were spoiled by what NXT was, and that's why people either think NXT is garbage right now or just a bad show? Because honestly, I watch the show weekly. Is it the best show of any wrestling show I watch all week? No, far from it. But I think people kind of look at it, and it's been long enough that it's been NXT 2.0, NXT fucking 5.0, whatever you want to call it. I just feel like we have to, at this point, look at it as its own thing and not compare it to what it was. That would be like looking at Raw every week and being like, I didn't think Raw this week was amazing, but like, look at Raw last week. I thought it was a really good show. We both thought it was a great show. That's like saying, the show is fine. It's nothing like what the Raw was in 98 during the Attitude Era, but it was okay. Like, no shit. Like, we're never going to go back to that. It is what it is. For better or for worse, we're never going back to that. NXT, same thing. I wish we can't go back to those days. We won't. As a standalone show, though, I think it's doing what it can to put over new people, whether they come from the PC or not. And they're putting a lot of PC people on their shows. Trust me. Do you think people are kind of spoiled by that and that kind of hurts the perception of NXT? Because people always associate NXT with that black and gold era that you mentioned.
Yeah, but I also feel like people are so nostalgic. Do people like remember like those NXT show? Like the weekly show wasn't like amazing.
I agree. Yeah, before they went on the network, before they went on USA, I agree. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like I feel like people like but I think the thing different is like they knew, like you said, like it is more like what it was at that time was basically like an indie promotion run by WWE. So like people like that hard, like indie's more like hardcore fans, I would say. So like. They love that shit, but like the weekly show wasn't like amazing. It was like fucking like 4 squashes and like maybe 1 good match. It was. Like,
it was,
like,
yeah.
I
said that, yeah.
But like I said, I feel like people just like got nostalgic because they had like those guys from Ring of Honor, other promotions that like never got their break and they're finally in WWE in basically a glorified indie promotion. But like the weekly shows weren't amazing. Like yeah, the takeovers were really good and stuff like that. But I'd even say like the NXT ones now have been really good. The takeovers they've had in the special. So. I mean, I just think, like you said, I think the fact that it's not like people that cut their teeth on the indies or have like this big following, it just gets a negative perception. Because, like I said, is the wrestling amazing every week? No, but I think they've had, compared to what the old NXT show was, I think it's comparable or a little less than.
I think they've found a fine rhythm. I think also part of the problem, and we said this when NXT was first relaunched in late 2021, I think some of the shows now are solid. I still don't think. I mean, you can get away with a 2-hour show because they have a big enough roster at this point, even though, listen, I agree. Here's my thing. I agree with you. I think it should be developmental. It is developmental. I don't think you should be putting a developmental show for 2 hours on TV. I know they already had the contract from a few years ago with when it joined USA in 2019. I get that. I just don't think the product we have right now is worthy of being on TV, and I think it should be on Peacock or something. And 2 hours might be a little bit long. That's my only thing. Is that the squashes are necessary. That is what it is. It's just, but it's also not as compelling as SmackDown. I don't really, honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, they have good matches in NXT. I'm not really sure what their appeal of the show is. Is there a draw, the fact that you can see the talent of tomorrow on there? I just don't think that's enough to draw people in for a 2-hour show. We've talked about this before. I don't know how the fuck they still pull in 500,000-600,000 people. I don't know where these people are coming from. And again, I like the show, but I don't think it's that, because it's not that much lower than what they were doing 2 or 3 years ago.
No, but that's the thing, though. But the thing is, like, something like that, I feel like, for me, like, I completely agree with your, like, sentiment that, like, it should realistically just be on Peacock. But if they already had the deal, whatever, you can't change that. But, like, if you're USA Network, like, 600,000 weekly on average for a show that's, like you said, glorified developmental. It's not the most amazing show ever. Like I said, I was kind of shocked that I think I, like, recently had seen that their ratings weren't, like, I thought they'd be a lot worse than they are. So, I mean, if you're USA Network, I guess you just take it. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, you're getting 600,000 people weekly on a developmental show. I mean, I don't think you would complain. So, I think realistically it should be on Peacock, probably 1 hour, and that's what it should be. But, I mean, if you're going to get the viewership and it's going to get you more money, I mean, I get it.
Yeah, listen, it's probably doing higher ratings than the, reruns of Grizzly Knows Prison or something. You know what I mean? So Grizzly Behind Bars.
Better than the Chicago Fire fucking rewatching or
exactly.
SVU or whatever they got on.
Yeah, I don't know what USA is airing nowadays. I used to be the biggest USA fan. I haven't followed it beyond the wrestling stuff in a very long time, but yeah, that's probably why.